the tolerant left, who pride themselves on acceptance and inclusion, have once again shown that they're not really accepting nor inclusive after all. Scotland's First Minister John Swinney claims the UK's court ruling over the legal meaning of a woman will leave members of the trans community feeling uncertain and anxious, and he's even refused to answer whether a trans woman is a woman. Joining us now from London is Tom Slater, Spiked UK's online editor. Tom, good to see you. Why are the left having such a hard time accepting what is a biological reality?
Because they've been captured by this mania, by this cult for so many years, I think. I mean, it's fascinating to see John Swinney talking about the anxiety that this ruling might create. First of all, that's just a nonsense. You read the Supreme Court ruling itself, it makes abundantly clear this isn't about taking away any rights from transgender people. It's about protecting the rights of women, which had come into conflict with the activists who wanted to get rid of their spaces and get rid of sex-based rights. I also think it's kind of unpleasant for the leader of Scotland, the leader of the Scottish National Party, to talk about anxiety out there in society when the SNP in power caused widespread anxiety within Scotland amongst women when it tried to push through even more radical gender laws, which would have mandated that rapists could be put in women's prisons, that would have made it a lot easier for people to essentially self-identify themselves into women's spaces, refuges, and the rest of it. And we've seen this intolerance, this total disregard of women's rights on the streets of Scotland and London in recent days, as people have been venting their spleen and anger in the most, in often cases, quite misogynistic ways against women who just dared to stand up for their rights and have now had that affirmed in court. So it's rich, to put it lightly, definitely.
Tom, I want to ask you on a different subject about a new poll published in the UK Telegraph that shows most Britons believe Nigel Farage is as likely to be the next Prime Minister as Sir Keir Starmer. What's driving Farage's popularity, and more particularly, why is he, rather than the Conservatives, capitalising on Starmer's unpopularity?
No, it's fascinating. I mean, the tectonic plates of British politics really are shifting, and this is another example of that. As you say, in this poll, the public think that Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage are essentially on level pegging in terms of who might become the next Prime Minister. They're on about 14% each. Still not huge, but shows you just how much things are shifting, how fluid things are. Meanwhile, Kemi Badenoch, new leader of the Conservative Party, only about 1 in 20 voters think she's got a shot at number 10 Downing Street. There's been another poll this morning, one of those kind of big MRP mega polls, which projects how many seats might be won at the next election. That has Reform as the largest party, well short of a majority on 180 seats, but still the largest party. So we're a long way out from a general election. But as you say, it shows the complete collapse of Labour. I mean, it's gone from it has a very strong majority, but has never had properly widespread support in the country. But also asks very big questions of the Conservatives. Why have they not been able to capitalise on this when Nigel Farage has? And I think the answer to that is that he, in a much clearer way, can speak to that restive populist spirit which still exists in the country, which wants to see its interests looked out for, and which feels like it's been failed by both of the establishment parties. So it's definitely one to watch, but it's going to be a very bumpy ride, particularly for the mainstream parties, I think, over the next couple of years. Yeah,
very interesting. Almost out of time, Tom, but very quickly, Prince Harry's asked for specific security protection after receiving a threat from Al-Qaeda. What's happened here?
No, this is really striking. I mean, it's one of those things where clearly Prince Harry is going to have a big target on his head. He served in the military, he even talked quite openly about his exploits whilst serving in Afghanistan and so on. So this is always the problem. Given the fact, his profile, given the status that he has, given his military service, he was always going to be a very high-profile target for terrorist groups of all kinds. This seems to be another example of that. But unfortunately, because he's been engaged in this kind of long-running fight, legal war of words as well with the British state, it's just becoming a much more knotty issue in terms of how to deliver that, because he's renounced his status, he's renounced his privileges in large part, but at the same time still remains a person of interest in a very, very big way. So a really tricky situation for him to find himself in, definitely.
It certainly is. Tom Slater, happy Easter to you, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.